Well, ladies and gentlemen, we finally made it. Top 5 favorite Fords. We already hit the Mopars and we hit the Chevys. Now, this one, this one is tough for me because me personally, I hate Ford with a fire and undying passion. Just loathe Ford. So it should speak volumes to you that I can even compile a top 5 favorite list of favorite Fords of all time, because I would rather dog on all of them. But this is a special list as far as I'm concerned. This is an extremely special list. You might be surprised on what's on here, and you might be surprised at what's missing. Let's check it out. Here we are, kicking it off number 5 with a truck, the Ford SVT Lightning. Second gen of Ford Lightning, based off of the 10th gen of Ford F-150. This thing had a 5.4 liter supercharged V8, 360 to 380 horsepower, 440 to 450 pound-feet of torque, depending on the model year, the motor configuration, and application. This thing was a truck racing king. I mean, the GMC had the Cyclone, and Dodge eventually had the SRT10 Ram, but this thing, for the span of time that this thing was out, this thing was the king. The king. It was lowered, it was supercharged. This thing would scream 0 to 60. May not have been very good for truck uses, but as far as racing and smoking the tires, this thing was it. The SVT Lightning held its own as the racing truck for an era until everybody else started catching up. Kudos to Ford. Coming in at number 4, you know me and my B-body size muscle cars. The Ford Torino GT Super Cobra Jet. I know it's a mouthful, but this thing came with a 429 cubic inch Super Cobra Jet V8, 375 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque. The second gen redesign to me is the best looking version of this car. I mean, they really hit it out of the park, this thing, with the sloping fast back, the Coke bottle design. Though it does have a lot of those characteristics, it didn't really look like anything else on the road. It was unique, but when cars get unique, they tend to get weird. They tend to get out in the other side of left field, and they end up being weird and nasty, or just overdone, overthought. This thing, with this redesign, I mean, they checked every box. They hit every nail on the head. This thing was sick. And on top of being sick and looking nasty, this thing was nasty fast. That Super Cobra Jet, regardless of what you put it in, that thing was tearing up track times. Believe that. Coming in at number 3, Ford's doing something right with their trucks when they got 2 on this list. The Ford Raptor SVT. This thing, specifically the first gen or the 12th gen of F-150, this thing came with a 5.4 liter or a 6.2 liter V8, 320 to 411 horsepower, 390 to 434 pound-feet of torque. After the first year of this run of Raptor, they got rid of the 5.4 and went strictly with the 6.2. Eventually, they switched over to the EcoBoost, and that kind of did it in for me with the Raptor. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but trucks should have that deep, throaty, manly, like rumble and grumble, that V8 sound that just roars. You hit the gas, and it sounds more like a truck than a lawnmower. That's my personal preference. But doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean you're wrong. But stay tuned, because rumor has it that for the new model year, they're going to be dropping the 760 horsepower Shelby GT500 motor in the Raptor. Is it going to be detuned? Probably. But Ford's trying to come after the TRX, and I'm all for it. Fingers crossed, because the better the Raptor gets, the better the TRX is going to get. Let the truck horsepower wars commence. Coming in at number 2. I'm already anticipating all the boo birds starting to chirp. I know I'm going to get hate because I'm a Mustang hater, but badass is badass, right? Got to give credit where credit's due. Number 2, the Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. How do you hate on this car? 428 cubic inch, 2 4-barrel Holly carbs, push rod V8, 355 horsepower, 420 pound-feet of torque. How do you hate on something like that? It's got the fastback design. It's got all the front end modifications for the increased air and performance. I mean, this thing is sick, top to bottom, front to back. It's one of the few respectable Mustangs of the time that I will give credit to, and Ford should be proud of that. Plus, on top of everything, it's the focal point of one of my favorite car movies of all time, the remake, the Nicolas Cage remake of Gone in 60 Seconds. Coming in at number 1, here we are again. Big, bulky, mid-sized muscle car. Ford Fairlane 500, specifically the R code, 5th gen Ford Fairlane. This remodel was it for me. 427 cubic inch V8, 425 horsepower, 480 pound-feet of torque. This thing just exudes sleek elegance, but still manages to come across with I'm a badass and I'll punch you right in the mouth if you disagree with me. I love the redesign with the stacked headlights. You didn't see that too often on a lot of the bulky muscle cars. This thing, the lines, the curves, the sleek back end, everything, the subtle badass like tones on the car, you just can't beat that. And this thing was stupid fast, surprising fast. I mean, this is one of those cars that you looked at it and you're like, that ain't nothing. But man, when the driver put the pedal to the floor, this thing would shit and get. It was nasty fast. Ford, to me, they hit the ball out of the park with this redesign. This thing might be, in my personal opinion, the sexiest Ford ever made. Love this car. Doesn't get enough love, doesn't get enough credit. Ford Fairlane 500 all day, number 1 Ford. And there you have it. Top 5 favorite Fords. I managed to get through the whole thing without getting struck by lightning somewhere. So tune in. I have no idea what top 5 list we're going to do next, but I'm sure it'll be a good one. So I appreciate the love. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Catch you on the next one.